Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we'd first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace.
How do you put memories or say something about Grandma and Pa? It's been years when us kids grew up with Grandma and Pa and things that we've done, so
You wouldn't be able to know a man such as Howard Hunter and Merle Hunter without having a lot of memories. You just can't tell them all.
There's a lot of stuff. Grandma always had baking.
she was a really good cook.
Almost every time we came here, there'd be she'd be cooking something. She'd have candies. I really liked your donuts and her cream puffs.
Well, I should remember a lot about them. They were my parents, and if you tried to wish up parents, I don't think you could have come up with better parents.
And then I can remember they'd go to town once a week to get Grandma out of the house, and all us girls would go because we knew that Pa was going to pay for our lunch.
I remember getting off the school bus at Grandma's so often, and she would greet me at the door with French fries, cookies, butter tarts.
I have so many memories, but I would just like to say I know I was blessed having such a happy childhood with my mom and dad and 3 brothers and 1 sister.
And then that same summer, there was cattle. Howard pastured and the cattle got into the asphalt. But I never heard Howard or Merle complain.
Well, I met Grandma and Pa, and ever since then I've been part of the Hunter family, and it's been wonderful. I just felt like one of their kids. And Rosie and Vera and Ed and Bob were just like brothers and sisters to me all these years.
Well, when I come down here, I always think of Dad and all his horses. That's how they farmed then.
I remember Pa in the old shed. It was Christmas. I think Teresa and I were probably, I don't know, 10 or 11. And he decided we were old enough to see a goose get its head chopped off in this shed. So he gets me and Teresa in there. Somebody else was there. I don't know if it was Eddie or somebody.
I always remember coming to the door and not being able to come in until we had permission, and Grandma having to phone Mom and ask if we could come in. It was usually because other kids were here. Mom always thought it was too much for Grandma.
To have us here?
Yeah.
Do you remember Grandma making donuts?
Oh yeah.
Wasn't that the best?
Or raising bread on the registers.
My earliest memory of Mom and Dad was from a horse manger in the barn, where I was out of danger from being stepped on by a cow while they were milking each cow by hand. The other kids were in the barn also. I guess that forms my first memory of a family together.
But Mom stayed and made supper while we went up the mountain. They made spaghetti and those chocolate bars Mom used to make. And Charlie was a baby, just walking, a couple of years old, so he stayed with Mom in the village. The rest of us went up the mountain. The kids were more willing to go than their mother.
Really?
Yeah,
Scary?
Oh, come on, you suck, he said. Off I went.
We shared a love of baking, and 2 recipes that come to mind. There are many, but 2 are the date oatmeal cookies. That's today and serve them to anyone that is a date or a oatmeal lover. One of her favorites was rainbow squares. And if you made a pan of them and took her some of them, she couldn't be a happier person because it satisfied her sweet tooth with the butterscotch and the colored marshmallows in them. She just loved them.
Grandma always made those sweet Marie bars for us. Remember those?
I remember those.
Yeah, she used to always make us a big batch and put them in the freezer for us. And Pa would do stuff. He took us down to the river one day. We went swimming down there. I'd never ever been swimming in the river. He couldn't believe he'd never swam down there before. He took us down to the river swimming.
From sitting on Pa's knee when we were little, helping him eat his little apples that he'd cut up in small pieces, listening to his little pocket watch on the string. Then when we got older, we'd be sitting in his chair watching TV or something. Pa would want to come and sit down. You could just feel his hand gently push your head out of the chair so you'd get up and then he could sit down.
Crying and everything, and Pa, he come around and put his arm around me and he said, there, don't be so upset.
Pa, I never seen him move so fast. He dropped the rake or the mower off the tractor right in the field.
We had to drive here in a hurry because the barn was on fire.
When it come time for the serious stuff, I had to go and get serious with Pa. So that was my first serious talk. I had to go out the barn because Grandma made me.
My gift to you, if I could give you a present to last your whole life through, it would be faith in God with which to live and the love of someone true. As sure as the flowers grow in spring and the birds are singing too, I wish you the best of everything. That's what I wish for you.
One of the things that I wanted to say was, when I was little, I used to come down to the farm here all the time and play. And one time Joyce was here, and I was so excited to see Joyce, so I rode my bike down and didn't even have breakfast. And her and I got on the pony, and darn Dan took the willow switch off the old willow tree and scared the horse. The horse went up, Joyce let go of the mane, landed on top of me, and I fell down on the sidewalk, the cement sidewalk, and broke my arm.
Peggy. Poor Peggy and I rode together one day for a few minutes, and then plop. Scream! We fell. Her on the bottom, me on the top of her, and her poor arm was broken.
I held my arm and ran to the back door and looked at Joyce, because Joyce was in shock, and said, "Joyce, open the door." And Joyce didn't understand what I said, so I had to tell her again, and I go in crying to Grandma, and I said, "Grandma, my arm." And Grandma says, "Oh, Peggy, you broke your arm."
I still feel so bad about that accident.
So I never did get to play with Joyce all day, but that's one of the memories. So I ended up in the hospital, and Pa wrote this little letter to me, and it said, October 30th, 68. Howdy, Peggy. Our little girl fell off the pony while playing with her cousins all. Pony running, children laughing, broke her arm, a nasty fall. Now she's in the hospital laying. We are sorry, we are sad, but we know she'll soon be better, and we hope it's not too bad. Soon a cast she will be wearing, and we'll have her home once more, and we'll write our names upon it okay, not so painful, not so sore. Hurts do happen to us sometimes, seems so bad and makes us blue, but that's the way we learn to live, so try to be cheerful, Peggy Sue. And so we hope you'll soon be better, hope you don't have too much pain, and you'll soon be playing with the others and ride the pony once again. Be seeing you, Pa.
I can't remember pony names, but I think one was Silver. Aunt Noreen will never forget, nor will I, the ride she had on one horse. She looked like a rag doll hung up in the stirrup upside down. That was so scary. I'm very thankful they got that horse stopped and she wasn't hurt seriously. Or were you, and I just don't remember. I was horrified. Still makes me cry thinking about it.
Okay, I'm going to start with Pa. The things I remember about Pa. I don't really have a story. I just have lots of things I remember. Like toothpicks, striped overalls, lots of candy in his pocket at church to keep us quiet. I remember fuzzy rabbits. I remember the farm, always being at the farm, always feeling welcome, always feeling loved. I remember him always needing to call at us when Grandma was sick and needing us to help out around the house, and feeling very lucky and very special that we could be there to help him. Now Grandma. Where do I start about Grandma?
I think about my grandma every day of my life. She taught me so much. She was like my mother. I remember getting off the school bus at Grandma's so often, and she would greet me at the door with French fries, cookies, butter tarts, tell you that it was okay to eat your dessert before you eat your supper. I remember the very first time I even ironed was at my grandma's house. I miss my grandma.
Maybe it was to learn how to love. Maybe it was to learn how to leave. Maybe it was for the games we played. chickening out. You're banging on the beach, shaking a tin drum. I can't wait till you make the whole kingdom come. So leave it. Maybe it was to learn how to fight. Maybe it was to lessen pride. Maybe it was the cowboy's way. Or maybe it was to learn not to make. Maybe it was to learn how to cry. Or maybe it was for the love we made. Oh, love is everything they said it would be. Love did not hold back the reins, but love forgot to make me too blind to see. You're chickening out, aren't you? You're banging on the beach, shaking old tin drum. I can't wait till you make the whole kingdom come. So first here turns to you, then here turns to her. So yeah, try to hurt him back, but it breaks your body down. So yeah, try to love bigger, bigger still, but it is too late. So take a lesson from the strangeness you feel, and know you'll never be the same, and find it in your heart to kneel down and say, I gave my love tonight, and I gave it big sometimes, and I gave it in my own sweet time. I'm just living. I'm just is everything. Love is everything. Love is everything.
I remember sleeping up here, which was a lot bigger. And there was 2 bedrooms.
Yeah, there was.
The bedroom over there, Grandma, was had a big fluffy quilt comforter. And laying there and hearing Pa's voice come up the stairs, it's time to get up. Or he'd just say, get up, or something like that, and we'd come down and go get the cows. And
That silk comforter had feathers in it, I think. Another cause for quarrel. Who got to sleep with it at night? Thankfully, it was large enough to cover several of us at once.
Once upon a time, a long time ago, I bought an Irish setter dog. It was a beautiful dog. It was purebred. It was 6 months old. I bought it from a top name kennel, Shillelagh's Kennel, for Irish setters there in Clinton. So anyway, I took the dog home and I fed it good and let it run around the house, and I would watch it run, and a couple of weeks went by and I thought it was pretty used to the place, so I thought I'd just leave it outside. Well, I went to milk the cows. Well, of course, I got halfway done milking the cows and my brother-in-law, Doug Casemore, came in the laneway. He came in, he says, "I got your dog in the back of my truck. A truck ran over it." So I got really upset. I had a nervous breakdown because I paid $150 for this dog, and at the time that was 2 weeks' wages. So I can remember coming down to Troy here a little while later with my husband Jim, and my daughter Marilyn wasn't born yet, so I was all upset and all crying and everything, and Pa, he come around and put his arm around me and he said, there, don't be so upset. It was nothing but a goddamn dog. The end. If you want any more, it'll cost you money.
This poem is to Gwen from Pa. Now Gwen is getting married. I never felt she'd fall. I thought she'd be a woman's lib and have no man at all. But she met this tall young Scotchman. He must have changed her mind. Her woman's lib and single life she's leaving far behind. Young Jim McLean, a fine young Scot, he wears his kilts with dash and plays the bagpipes loud and bold and wears the tartan sash. His combination should work good at home or at the dance, for if he likes to wear the kilts, Gwen will wear the pants. Now Gwen, she does not talk a lot, so Jim, you'll have your say, but if she's like most women, she still will have her way. I wish you love and happiness for all your lifetime through, that you always help each other, and the wish I wish for you. Love, Granddad.
Being the youngest cousin, I didn't meet Grandma until I moved to the farm. Grandma would have been in her early 70s and living at Charlotte Villa. I remember many of visits there. In her room, my favorite thing Grandma would let me do is ride in her wheelchair up and down the halls. Things to this day that remind me of Grandma is dessert. Although I never got to sample any of Grandma's wonderful baking, she always had candies and cookies in her room to offer us whenever we went for a visit. Another thing that reminds me of Grandma is Kleenex. Grandma always had Kleenex tucked in her wheelchair, in her hand, and along the side of her bed. And in later years when she came to live with us, our dog Victoria loved to find, chew, and sometimes eat the Kleenexes Grandma left. The thing I especially think of Grandma is A535. Grandma always asked me to rub some on her wherever she had an ache or a pain. Even though it stunk so bad, I didn't mind doing this for her. After Charlotte Villa, Grandma moved to Tranquility Place, and shortly after there, we were fortunate enough to have her live with us for a few months before moving to the John Noble home. After Grandma moved out of our house, I really missed seeing her. I would go 2 to 3 times a week, and I really looked forward to our visits. Grandma was a great listener and enjoyed our visits, even though some days she wasn't sure who I was. I signed up as a volunteer there with other seniors. Grandma got a little jealous and wanted me all to herself. Another memory I have of Grandma is she enjoyed having me paint her fingernails. Usually the color was pink. I love my Grandma, and I miss her very much.
I bought it from a top name kennel, Shillelagh's Kennel, for Irish setters there in Clinton. So anyway, I took the dog home and...
I never had the chance to meet Grandpa Hunter, but I had the chance to meet Grandma Hunter, and she was the one that decided to give my name of Troy, and that's how I got my name, and it's pretty special to have that, and I have a lot of memories of her being around before she died, and that's my memory.
And just before I start, I'd like to say that from what I remember of my grandfather, Pa had it down to a T. how my grandfather really was. Good judge of character. A quiet man, you'd say he was, with nothing much to say. And all his friends who knew him best remember him that way. His enemies were hard to find, but his friends were everywhere. In a crowd where people gathered, he'd take the humblest chair. A kindly man who never hurt with harsh said words or boost, yet full of humor, fun, and wit, which made us love him most. He never scaled the heights of fame or became a millionaire, and I don't think he cared a bit to be in the public glare.